Okay, welcome everyone. Last week, Ahimsa talked about the fourth step in the gradual training, sometimes known as guarding the senses. And we felt this was such an important topic that we're going to do a second week on it, so I'm going to try and come at it from a few different angles to sort of flesh out your understanding of guarding the senses. I gave a few different translations of this term. It's also known as protecting the senses, restraining the senses, and then I heard a new to me translation, composing the senses. And this was from two different places. One was from Venerable Payutto, a very revered sort of scholarly monk, I believe from Thailand. I think so. And then also when the Buddha's teachings were taken to China in a very long time ago, and they translated this term, they also use the word composing the senses. So this gives the idea of equanimity. Equanimity is unflappable calm, regardless of what's happening. So this is the fruit, this is something that is a fruit of our practice. We definitely want to be attending to necessary sensory stimuli. Like if you're crossing the street and a car's about to run you down, you want to pay attention to that and jump out of the way. But if you're walking through a shopping mall and there's all these objects that are sort of calling out, buy me, buy me, buy me, or you're on a meditation retreat and the person beside you is jingling their keys, or the person down in the kitchen is banging pots together, you don't want your mind sort of going out to that and grabbing onto it. You just want to be composed and just stay equanimous, not pay attention to these unnecessary sensory inputs that are happening. So I just want to read you from what the Buddha says about this. So this is in the middle length sayings of the Buddha, Majjhima Nikaya, and it's teaching number 152. And he's speaking to his attendant, Ananda. Now, Ananda, how is there the supreme development of the faculties? So the faculties, we're talking about the sense faculties, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and thinking. How is there the supreme development of the faculties and the Noble One's discipline? Here, Ananda, when a meditator sees a form with the eye, there arises in them either what is agreeable or what is disagreeable, or what is both agreeable and disagreeable. One understands thus: there has arisen in me what is agreeable, there has arisen what is disagreeable, there has arisen what is both agreeable and disagreeable. But that is conditioned, gross, dependently arisen. On the other hand, equanimity, this is peaceful, this is sublime. The agreeable that arose, the disagreeable that arose, and the both agreeable and disagreeable that arose cease in them, and equanimity is established. Just as a person with good sight, having opened their eyes, might shut them, or having shut their eyes, might open them, so too concerning anything at all, the agreeable that arose, the disagreeable that arose, and the both agreeable and disagreeable that arose, cease just as quickly, just as rapidly, just as easily as opening and closing your eyes. and equanimity is established. This is called the Noble One's discipline, the supreme development of the faculties regarding forms cognizable by the eye. And then he repeats this: sounds cognizable by the ear, smells, tastes, touches, and thoughts. And then he ends with, so Ananda, the supreme development of the faculties and the Noble One's discipline has been taught by me. The disciple in higher training who has entered upon the way has been taught by me, and the Noble One with developed faculties has been taught by me. What should be done for his disciples out of compassion by a teacher who seeks their welfare and has compassion for them? That I have done for you, Ananda. There are the roots of trees, these empty huts. Meditate, Ananda. Do not delay, or else you will regret it later. This is my instruction to you. So the Buddha's calling this the supreme development. So when we first start, this is not going to be our experience. It's not going to be our way of dealing with guarding the senses or composing, protecting the senses. This is something that is the fruit of our practice. So the the Buddha is saying, like, there's the quiet places to meditate. Go and meditate. Don't be lazy. Go and do it. And then this is going to be the fruit. You're going to be able, with just like as quick as opening or closing your eyes, if something agreeable or disagreeable that that's not necessary to attend to sort of assails your senses, you're just going to be able to stay in this state of equanimity, this state of composure, and not let it affect you. So, since this is something that fruits in our practice, and is maybe not available to all of us at this moment, what are the other ways then that we can guard the senses or get some composure of the senses? So there's at least two ways that I came across in reading the suttas and listening to teachers. So the first one, just a minute, let me see, did I miss out something here? Yeah, so the first one is to determine if whatever's coming into your sensory awareness, if you went for that, would it increase wholesome qualities or would it increase unwholesome qualities? So this is the first thing, determining, is taking this action or saying this thing or thinking this, is it going to increase wholesomeness or decrease wholesomeness? And the Buddha talks about this. It's in the same collection, Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length sayings, number 19, and it's called, the teaching's called the two kinds of thoughts. And this is before the Buddha was awakened himself. He divided his thoughts into two camps: wholesome thoughts and unwholesome thoughts. And so what are the wholesome? So there are things like metta, unconditional love, loving friendliness, generosity, kindness, compassion, letting go, living more simply. So that's in the camp of the more wholesome things. Unwholesome, so that's ill will, thoughts of harm or cruelty, or thoughts of sensual pleasures that can lead to harm, like overeating. Great at the moment, but then big stomach aches later on. Substance abuse can have, huge craving and desire for drugs or alcohol, and then can destroy a relationship or cause you to lose your job, or all kinds of negative things. Lusting after someone who's in a committed relationship, lead to all kinds of hurtful feelings. So these are in the camp of the unwholesome thoughts. So this, recognizing these two kinds of thoughts, this is step 2 in the Noble Eightfold Path. So we started with chanting the Noble Eightfold Path when we first started tonight. And step 2 was right motivation. And right motivation is basically these wholesome thoughts. Metta, compassion, letting go. Now there's a special Buddhist term that's used to describe this process of reflecting on, is this particular desire or aversion or whatever that's happening, is it wholesome or unwholesome? And that's called wise reflection, or in Pali, yoniso manasikara, but wise reflection. So we're using wise reflection to determine, if I go this direction, is it going to increase the wholesome? Or if I go this direction, is it going to increase the unwholesome? So wise reflection means considering matters thoroughly, logically, based on the wisdom teachings of the Buddha, and considering the situation according to causes and effects. Wise reflection is a forerunner of the 7 factors of awakening. It's also the reflection that we use in the 4 right efforts. So when we talk about guarding the senses, we're also talking about the 4 right efforts, because the 4 right efforts, we did those in the chant. If we don't have unwholesome qualities that have arisen at the moment, then our first effort is to not allow them to arise. The second effort is if unwholesome qualities have arisen, then we make an effort to let them go. The third effort is if there aren't wholesome qualities yet arisen, we make an effort to cause them to arise. We put in the conditions to cause them to arise. And then the fourth effort is if we have wholesome qualities present, we're going to make the effort to increase them or to have them continue, to not fall away. So wise reflection is sort of like the background that's happening behind all of these. Now, wise reflection is based on the wisdom teachings, and so maybe we're not all that familiar with what they are, so we combine wise reflection with Kalyanamitas, hearing the Dhamma, hearing the teachings from good friends who are maybe a little bit further down the path than we are, that have heard a few more of the teachings and can share those with us, teach those to us. And then that helps increase our wisdom. So, going back to, is it wholesome, unwholesome? So if it's a wholesome desire, go for it. Last week, when Jocelyn was here, she was saying, well, I have a desire to cuddle with my kids. Well, that's great. It's a wholesome desire, so you go for it. But you kind of want to keep in the back of your mind impermanence. The concert's going to end. The kids are going to grow up and leave home. Maybe your partner's going to die before you do. So it's, just kind of keeping that there so that you don't get so attached that, then you just totally fall apart when that situation ends. Now, on the other hand, if it's an unwholesome desire, we're going to guard our senses by not grasping at the details of the sensory experience. You just want to just say, just hearing. Like say it's a sound, an unpleasant sound. You know, instead of running out and grabbing it and stabbing yourself with second and third and fourth arrows, saying how horrible it is, it's just hearing, just sound. Bhikkhu Tanisro said he sort of imagines himself like a screen, you know, a porous screen, so the sounds are just going right through. So just seeing, just hearing, just tasting, just smelling, etc. So we're using this wise reflection to reflect on the unwholesome aspect of our reaction to the sensory experience. When you can see how your desire for something or your aversion to something is working against you or working against others or both, then hopefully you can feel it like a hot coal in your hand, and then you just drop it. You don't have to be, you know, if you can really feel sort of that hot coal, then you don't have to talk yourself into it. You don't have to use willpower. This is wisdom power. You know, we're using wise reflection to give us wisdom power to just naturally want to let go of things rather than trying to talk ourselves into it. So as householders, the Buddha is certainly not asking us to give up wholesome desires. He encourages us to enjoy the sensory pleasures, to share them with others, and to do good deeds. And I just want to show you, I wrote an article where I went through the teachings of the Buddha and sort of pulled out all these various teachings. So I'm just going to show you where to find this on the website. Except, I think I've lost it.
Oh, we shut down the computer to get the camera.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Just give me a second here, I'll pull it up. Try and pull it up.
Yeah, somehow here. Can't do that. Yeah,
Okay, so here's the home page of the website, and what you do is you go on the menu bar here to teachings, and then there's 4 drop-down menus. Oops. And then you go to miscellaneous. I put it under miscellaneous. Sorry, it's jumping around on me. And so here it is here. What does the Buddha say about wealth? And, you know, it's basically, you know, live within your means, but enjoy. He's saying it's stupid to, you know, to have, you know, to be able to indulge in some sensory experience and then say, oh, I can't be happy about this or whatever, be miserable or whatever. He's saying, you know, if you have the monetary means to experience various sensory pleasures, go for it and enjoy it and share it. So I just wanted to show you where to find that on the website, because sometimes people get, you know, confused about, you know, what does it mean about desires. Okay, so that was, so we've heard about the ultimate way to guard our senses is with this composure, with this equanimity. But this is not going to be how we deal with it at the beginning. This is going to be the fruiting of our practice. If we listen to the Buddha and go to those, you know, the base of a tree or an empty hut, i.e. to our quiet place to meditate and practice, then this is going to be the outcome of our practice, that we're going to have this equanimity, we'll have this composure, and we won't get yanked around by all of these sensory experiences that aren't necessary for us. So that's what we can all look forward to and maybe experience from time to time. And then the method that's accessible right now is using wise reflection to look, is this going to be a wholesome outcome following this or an unwholesome one? And I explained sort of what the Buddha defines as wholesome and unwholesome. Now the next method of guarding the senses is to look at the gratification, the danger, and the escape. So this means if you have a desire, or maybe it's some anger that's coming up, and there's something that feels gratifying, for you to want to express that anger, or go after that desire. So pause and acknowledge that. Acknowledge the benefit that you would get from following this particular desire, or following this impulse to express anger or whatever. So acknowledge that, be aware of that. But then look at what's the danger. And by the danger, they're mostly meaning the impermanence. You buy a new thing, and then a week later you're bored with it, or don't bother using it, or it takes a ton of maintenance. It's something that takes a ton of maintenance, and you don't want to be spending all that time maintaining things, or it puts you in debt, and then you're struggling to buy groceries or something, or maybe there was something more important that you needed, a winter coat for your kid or something, and now you can't buy it because you indulged in this thing. So that's looking at the danger, and so then you have to weigh, the gratification, the benefit with the danger. And then the escape is the guarding of the senses, not paying attention to those particular details. Just seeing, just hearing, whatever, just not going out and grabbing at the details. Good to know that sense restraint is mostly done off of the cushion. What we've been talking about so far, we haven't even talked about sitting on the cushion and meditating. All of these preliminary steps that we've talked about for the gradual training are the things that we do in day-to-day life, preparing us for sitting on the cushion. So I did a little chart here to try and show you how these steps of the gradual training that we've talked about so far sort of jive with the Noble Eightfold Path. So we'll see if that's still there.
I don't think so.
Don't think so. Okay. Let me just look. Oh, it's there. We're okay. You didn't remove it on me. Okay. Oops. What happened? What are you seeing?
You just click the wrong one there.
There. Are we okay?
Mm-hmm.
Good. It's a touchy computer. Can you see? If you want to sneak over a little bit. You're okay. Okay. So on the left-hand side, we have the gradual training.
Make it a bit bigger.
Okay. So remember, step one in the gradual training is we need somebody who sort of discovers sort of natural laws, natural truths, and somebody who wakes up to those, and we call that person a Buddha, because Buddha means awake. And so we're lucky, and in our historical age we have a Buddha. And then step two the Buddha teaches what he has learned. Because we do have a type of person who discovers the natural laws, but they don't have, either they don't have the skills to teach or the inclination or the circumstances or whatever. They're called Pacceka Buddhas, but they never teach, so we don't learn from them. But this kind of a Buddha teaches. So step 2, they teach, and we have the opportunity, the good fortune to hear the teachings. And then step 3, we hear the teachings and it touches our heart. We get inspired. So this hearing the teachings and being inspired, this is encompassing the first step of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is right view, which is an initial understanding of the natural laws, the Four Noble Truths. That yes, there's suffering in this world. That suffering's caused by desire, wanting things to be other than they are at the moment. The third truth is the good news that we can come to an end of this kind of suffering. And the fourth noble truth is this Noble Eightfold Path, the teachings of the Buddha on how to do this, how to come to the end of suffering. So we get some kind of a glimpse of that and feel inspired. So step 3 on the gradual training and step 1 on the Noble Eightfold Path. Then in the gradual training, the next step is enhancing our moral behavior, our speech, and our thinking. So this goes with step 2, right motivation, kindness, compassion, letting go, simplifying. It also goes with the 3 moral steps, step 3, 4, and 5, right action, right speech, right livelihood. That's a real direct connection there. And then it also goes with step 6 of the Noble Eightfold Path, right effort, which is increasing the wholesome and decreasing the unwholesome. So that's where we're at right now. So one of the last things I wanted to say, yes, was, are we doing this right, this wise reflection all the time? And the answer is no. If you're sitting on the cushion and you're doing your meditation practice and your mind wanders off somewhere, if it's not a big, huge emotional thing, it's just sort of just a little wandering, there's no big grab to it, not a lot of emotion or whatever, then all you do is bring when you wake up and realize you're wandering, you just bring yourself back to your meditation object. But if it's got more energy to it, if it's just like keeps grabbing you, it's got power to it, then we want to employ the wise reflection. So we don't have to be doing a ton of reflecting, which is thinking during our meditation practice. It just depends, how strong is this wandering off that we're doing. We might be doing it more often during the day, like off the cushion, if it's a sort of a decision we have to make about, do I do this thing or not do this thing, or do I buy this thing or not buy this thing, or do I get angry about this or not get angry about this? But certainly on the cushion. And the Buddha, he talks about this. It's actually, as I said, the 2 kinds of thoughts is number 19. It's teaching number 19. And the very next teaching is 5 ways to stop thinking. And so the first way is substitution. So you can sometimes do specific substitutions, like if you're angry, you can do metta. If you're lusting after somebody you shouldn't be lusting after, then you can do the body parts. But most commonly, if your mind's just sort of gently wandering away, the substitution to the wandering is your meditation object, just gently coming back to your meditation object. So that's the first way to stop thinking. The second way is what I was talking about tonight. It's looking at the danger of this. So, yeah, what's the benefit? What's the danger? What's the escape? Is this wholesome? Is this unwholesome? So this is the second method that the Buddha gives for stopping thinking. So I'm just going to end with a few pithy sayings that I came across when I was reading suttas and listening to talks for this. It's lack of desire that makes us happy. That's contentment. It's contentment that makes us happy. We're not training experiences, we're training our reactions to what arises. And then a comment from Ajahn Chah. Our senses are our 6 teachers. From them, we learn about suffering and the end of suffering. We're like prisoners or slaves to craving. When will we have enough of this insatiable craving? Question mark. And the last one, we want the happiness and bliss that comes from letting go. We want the happiness and bliss that comes from letting go of everything without letting go of everything. Okay, on that note, we'll open it up for discussion. And for those of you on Zoom, if you can wildly wave your hand or click on the little symbol hand, because you're kind of tiny for me to see. Or just speak out.
I have a question. It may seem a bit strange, but I feel like I'm sure that I've experienced equanimity before.
Mm-hmm.
What does it actually feel like or look like?
Composure. Just feeling like chaos can be going on around you, but you just feel composed.
So is it generally then, I mean, it would be easier to recognize in a state of, where everything is chaotic, but there would be moments of equanimity when the environment is also peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Is that like
Yeah.
here,
Mm-hmm.
meditating,
Mm-hmm.
being in nature?
Yeah. It reaches its peak in the 4th jhana. Yeah, it's where it's sort of the highest culmination is in, when we're still.
Okay, thank you.
But extremely peaceful.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing needs to be any different.
Like just like contentment, joy, all
Yeah.
of that just here in the moment.
Yeah, but it's equanimity is imbued with wisdom, so it's not based on I feel peaceful because everything is okay.
Right.
It's
yeah.
just doesn't matter how everything is. I feel peaceful. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to grasp, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
It's very, very based on wisdom.
Yeah, like it's absolute, not relational, really. Like it's not, I'm this way because of
Right.
anything
Right.
else. It's
Right.
just.
Could you experience the same level of equanimity in your day-to-day life through meditating, but if you never actually experience the 4th jhana where you have I guess, the deepest levels of equanimity.
Yeah, I think there's all different, there's degrees, so that's the sort of ultimate. I felt I had an experience of it. I think it was on the third day after Andre, my husband, had died. I remember getting up and, the house was just full of people and having to make all kinds of arrangements, and I just had this amazing, it was just this amazing feeling of equanimity, and maybe it was just accepting the reality of what had happened. I don't know, but I just remember touching into that on that day. It was quite something,
I'll bet.
and I haven't been in the fourth jhana, so.
It's almost like the fourth jhana can come to you, you don't expect it or something.
So this is a really, really, really important step on the path. So does everybody sort of feel they have an idea of how to go about this?
I just feel like it feels very clear in here.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you're actually in the middle of a situation, what comes up in that moment is not, well, what did the Buddha teach about this? So I guess I find remembering to tap into it in the moment is by far much harder than sitting here and contemplating it and understanding it intellectually.
Yeah. So for myself, the way I've learned things is, you hear some kind of a teaching, and then a situation happens and you use your usual habit energy, so you like screw up and do it the usual habitual unskillful way, but then you realize right after, this isn't, so there's a realization, you screw up, you do your habit energy, but then you realize, I was taught a different way to do this, I could have done this differently. So that's the first level, so there is some awareness, it just kind of comes a little bit late. The next kind of awareness comes as you're doing the visual energy, like you realize while you're doing it. And I remember that happened to me once. It was quite a powerful experience. I was in the front entrance of the building here, and I think I was stabbing myself with a second arrow. Somebody was there, and I was I was whining about some situation that happened, going, "Oh, this horrible thing happened," or whatever. And as I was doing this whining, it came to me like, hey, I've learned something different from this, and actually this is kind of boring, like I've heard this before, I've said this to a few other people, and this is kind of boring. And I remember stopping, like in mid-sentence of my wail, I stopped, and I can't remember anymore, it was a lot of years ago. I somehow changed the topic, but that was sort of like the second step where you're doing your old habit energy and it comes to you, so then you can sort of somehow stop and change. And then the third step is when you're about to open your mouth or do the action or do whatever it is, but you recognize just before you do it, and then you can stop yourself from even going there. So it's the gradual training. It's called the gradual training. We have these very, very strong habit energies that, we're trying to put in causes and conditions to change. So it's not an overnight thing. So, yeah.
And I think when you have that type of habit energy and you're stopping it, even recognize it, you go, that's not helping me and helping them, and you reverse it. Eventually, it stops. Like that thought, oh, I don't need to do this anymore, it's gone, because that doesn't arise anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the final stage. Yeah. It's just not part of you anymore. Yeah. Oh, somebody's waving their hand. Go ahead. I think, is it
Susan.
Susan?
Susan, you're muted. You need to unmute yourself.
Oops. Yeah, it's still muted, Susan. There. Oh, there you are.
Could you comment on wise reflection when how you bring your mind back on the cushion? Wise reflection. You would just bring your mind to something pleasant, or the 5 ways to stop thinking then.
Yeah, so according to what we were learning tonight, it would be reflecting on, oh, what was the benefit? Like, where did my mind go there when it wandered?
Mm-hmm.
And what was the benefit? Like, was I bored with my meditation? Was this sort of more interesting? Was my mind trying to entertain me? Or is there something going on in my life that I was trying to solve a problem? Like, whatever. So
Yeah.
So the first thing is the benefit. You know, what am I getting? What did I get out of this wandering? And then the second is the danger of it. I mean, first of all, you're not taking the opportunity to do your meditation practice, so you're wasting that opportunity.
Yeah.
And who knows, you're probably distressing yourself. You may be stabbing yourself with 2nd and 3rd and 4th arrows, like who knows. But you want to reflect on that. And then, you know, the escape is probably just coming back to your meditation object, or, taking
Right.
your mind away from focusing on whatever it was that pulled you away in the first place.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Great. Silka.
I've stumbled upon this teaching before. When we talk about equanimity, my mind often goes to like, I sometimes feel like I'm being asked to be an emotional flatliner. Like, so Andre died and my husband died. When are we allowed to grieve? When I have to be equanimous about it? Or, you know, I go to Germany, I look forward to it, but I should be having more equanimity. Do you
Yeah, so
understand?
that's where you want to catch the I should. You know, you want to be in the reality of the moment. If you're grieving, I did a lot of grieving for Andre. I just had that moment there. You know, I don't know how long it lasted. But I had that moment. I certainly did a lot of grieving. But I had that moment of equanimity. I didn't ask for it. I didn't say to myself, I should be equanimous, and then it happened. No, I was just going about dealing with all the relatives in the house and dealing with planning his celebration of life or whatever, and I just, there was just a little period of time in that day where there was just this amazing feeling of equanimity. And it's not flatline. You know, what I'm told, you know, what I'm taught is equanimity feels way better than joy. You know, like joy feels good. Apparently equanimity feels even better, and I can, you know, from that short moment, or, you know, that short period of time on that day when I had it, I'll say it was just a really beautiful feeling. So, yeah, it's not a should, it's a fruiting of our practice, and it's not a flat line. So please don't go around, you know, saying I should. This is what I was trying to say with the Buddha's not saying to us householders to give up desires, you know, or whatever. That's, you know, I encourage you to read that article on what the Buddha has to say about wealth. You know, this is a mistake to feel this. We're, you know, the whole thing is suffering. How do we let go of suffering? So it's when our desires are creating suffering, that's what we want to let go of, right? So, you know, when you look forward to going on your trip, look forward to going on your trip. Like, what's the reality of the moment? And then the wise reflection is my response to what's going on in the moment wholesome or unwholesome? We only want to let go of the unwholesome because it causes suffering. We're not trying to flatline ourselves. Is it getting a little clearer?
I just need to sit with it.
Okay.
Because it's a big teaching. And because I stumbled upon it before, I go, wow, I haven't learned that lesson yet.
Yeah.
Because it's still inside me. I go, she asked me to flatline now?
No,
You know,
we're not
but
asking that.
yeah, no, I hear that. Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah. We're trying to give you a method to suffer less, and so we're saying unwholesome things cause suffering. So let's have a little wise reflection. Is this wholesome, unwholesome? And let's let go of the unwholesome so that we can suffer less. No flatlining. Okay, we're at time here.
Sanghamitta, Roseanne would like to speak.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sanghamitta and Aya, having a taste a bit of equanimity, will there be more a choice or a feeling?
Say that again, Mudita.
Having a taste a bit of the equanimity,
Yeah.
and to go further with it, is equanimity more a choice or a feeling?
Well, for me, it's just, I mean, it just seems to be something that arises. It's something, I see it as a fruiting of the practice. So it's something that arises, not a choice. Aya?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think it's both. I think that, you know, the Buddha's talking to us about inclining the mind, you know, and part of the four right efforts. So you're in, and the other thing is, Silka, this is for you as well, is acquiring a taste, you know. Equanimity is like the best cooking, the best cuisine available. And
Nice.
there are times when we're not sophisticated enough, we're not refined enough to recognize that, and we're still kind of addicted to things that are more coarse. Yeah. So it's both, Mudita. We're acquiring a taste for peace. And when you do experience peace, you realize that it is the opposite of flatline. I mean, it's the most full, complete experience. But it has the feeling too, definitely.
Yeah, you just want more and more. It feels so balanced.
I'm nervous with the word want. Like the mind.
Yeah, desire.
The mind recognizes and inclines, or the heart, more and more, because it's more fulfilling. It's more nurturing, it's more real, it's more balanced.
I would just, to take Silka's example of the trip you were on, equanimity comes from a place that's completely satisfied and completely replete, completely fulfilled. So you would look forward to your trip, and equanimity, true equanimity, would kick in if the flight was cancelled and you couldn't go. And because you have that sense of fullness that's coming from inside, through developing your mind, through developing skillful qualities of mind, then you aren't disappointed or devastated when the trip is cancelled or when someone gets sick. So it comes from a place of fullness.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, we'll end, and it should be Mudita. We've got Mudita online with us today, but we've got too many people, so
No, it's we're on our second week.
we're still
We're
on
just
our
gonna
second
do-
week.
Yeah, we're the 14th. So we'll do
Oh, okay.
Karuna.
We're with Karuna. Compassion. So we'll just end with a meditation on compassion. So if you first of all can bring to mind somebody you know with great physical or mental suffering, and while being aware of their particular difficulties, direct these compassionate phrases to them. May you be free of your pain and sorrow. May you find peace. And now direct the phrases to yourself. May I be free of my pain and sorrow. May I find peace. And now bring to mind someone you know who's been very supportive of you, and send the phrases to them. May you be free of your pain and sorrow. May you find peace. Now think of a neutral person, clerk in the store, somebody you pass on the street, and send the phrases to them. May you be free of your pain and sorrow. May you find peace. And now bring to mind somebody that you have a difficult relationship with, and send the phrases to them. May you too be free of your pain and sorrow. May you too find peace. May all beings be free of pain and sorrow. May all beings find peace. Remember that all beings face great potential suffering, no matter how fortunate their immediate circumstances may be. This meditation does not eliminate suffering. What we are doing is being able to acknowledge suffering, to open to it and respond to it with a tenderness of heart which allows us to join with all beings and realize we are never alone. May the merit of our practice be shared with all sentient beings, named and unnamed. Alex, Terence, Louise, Teresa, Tracy. May all beings be well and happy. Thank you, everyone.